Hi, welcome back. We are on episode 21, and I guess we're going to end up where are we going today?
Today we are going to mysterious places, basically the sources of the Ganga River.
Oh, okay.
So, in the last episode, Yeshua basically spent the night, actually 4 days in Lumbini, and right before leaving Lumbini, he decided to buy himself a brand new robe made of white linen, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
By exchanging his
bowl.
bronze bowl that he used to eat. Yeah. So I think I'll just make a parenthesis here, but we can see a shift of his priorities, right? Eating is not so important. And I insist on that because we're going to talk about that in this episode.
Okay.
But the appearance and the way it looks is perhaps a little bit more important than eating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he has left Lumbini and he's walking in the mountains. And again, we will be providing all kind of maps so that people can see what he should have been doing and what he is actually doing in reality.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Did he get off track on purpose or accidentally on purpose? Or
You know, there is never anything accidentally,
Okay,
right? It's never accidental, right?
Right.
There is a good reason.
Right.
And he got out of track and he's going to spend 6 years out of track.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, 5 to 6 years, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot. So he has left Lumbini and now he's trying to go back to Meruvardhana, which is on the shore of Lake Dahl, where he spent a year and a half with Yeshua. I mean, that's close to the mountain of Solomon for the people, for the audience who has been following, what we have been saying in the previous episodes. So this is a place that he really likes, and he wants to go back to it. So there are multiple paths. The normal path would be to go in the plains, in the valleys, and follow the mountains to walk to Meruvardhana. And this is the first map we'll be showing. But Yeshua decides to go inside the mountain.
I was going to say, he took the hard road, I'm sure.
So he doesn't know exactly his route because he's alone. There are no guides with him.
Oh,
okay,
that's right.
No GPS, no maps.
And how old is he about this time?
He's 22.
22, okay.
22, maybe 22 and a half, something like that. Yeah. So, probably full of energy and
adventure.
Very confident. And so he asked his way around to Meruvardhana, but nobody knows the way to it. And they're actually suggesting him to take the pass, following the plains, but he doesn't do it. So the road that Yeshua is taking is way too dangerous. It's actually,
In what way? Because of the height?
Because of the height, because of the cold, because of the rocks, because of the fact that there are no real paths. So he's like an alpinist now, right? With basically just a linen robe, shoes and an old wool coat and his bag on his shoulder.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, in the future also we will be posting pictures of all the places where he goes, and it's interesting to see the contrast. People nowadays goes with the highest level of technology in terms of clothing, the gears and everything. They use Sherpas, to carry the equipment and everything. And here we have Yeshua, 2,000 years ago, doing everything by himself. No guide, no equipment. I mean, it's a miracle.
Well, when you're Yeshua, you don't need all that. You can just, it'll just appear for you.
It's a miracle he survived it.
Yeah.
And I think
he was supposed to.
I've picked up a few pictures, and I hope the audience realize, the incredible thing that he did in those places. Yeah. Yeah. So he's alone most of the time, and he said that only the wild goats and a few monkeys are his companions.
Oh.
And
wild goats and a few monkeys?
Yeah.
Monkeys up in that area?
Not so high, but
Okay.
When he leaves Lumbini, yes, there are a bunch of monkeys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so most of the time he's communicating with his father, Arun, and reminiscing about this incredible trip he has been doing for the past 9 years. He's 22. He left his home at 13 and a half, right?
Wow, yeah.
So it has been
He's
a long time.
been away from home for a long
Right.
time. And they haven't even heard from him.
No.
I mean, maybe he can communicate
Well,
telepathically in some
I
way.
think Malchus may have talked to somebody when he went back to Judea and Galilee, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Yeshua is thinking that, after reaching Meruvardhana, he will meet again with Babaji, and he will then go back to Galilee to start teaching.
Oh, okay.
That's his plan.
Wow.
And so at one point during, the climbing into the mountains, he meets a sadhu, and he asks him, what is the way to Meruvardhana? And the sadhu tells him, oh, you know what? You should go to the source of the Ganga River. Okay? And so Yeshua decided, okay, he said, well, it's just a little rerouting, it's not much. And he goes to a place called Kedarnath, which is still used today. And there is a little white temple located in that place, which is near the glacier of Gangotri. Okay. Gangotri is the source of the Ganga River.
Oh, okay.
The Ganges, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really where
the water flows out.
Right.
Isn't that where you said at some point
Yes,
said that's where the
okay.
Okay. Yeah. I won't get ahead of it.
Yeah. So around this little temple in Kedarnath, he sees numerous pilgrims. Some of them are coming naked in front of the mountain lord, and they hope that the mountain lord will take their lives, because then they would go into a state what they call the moksha, the deliverance, the exit from the world of Maya.
Oh.
So those people are so, I guess, fed up with their lives, and so...
So they're committing suicide?
No, they're not committing suicide. They're just presenting themselves naked in the mountains, with, it's rather cold, to the Lord of the mountain, and hoping that perhaps the Lord would take their lives. They're not committing suicide.
How is that not committing suicide?
It's just faith.
Okay.
Faith and belief.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeshua look at them, he studies their eyes, and he sees a lot of conflicting impressions in those people. He sees love, he sees hope, simplicity, humbleness, but also pride, stuck in beliefs, the blindness, fanatism, and even some people seeking power. They are there to seek power over others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now these are the ones who were giving themselves to the Lord?
Yeah, I mean it's a big crowd,
Oh, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. I mean it's a very famous place, and a lot of people come to see the sources of the Ganga River. Yeah, and Yeshua realized that the human being is the same here in the mountain or on the steps leading to the great temple at Jerusalem. It's the same stuff. Nothing
Funny,
is different.
right?
Yeah. And he said that the light always reveals all the dark hubris of human, of the human mind. And he realized also that there are a lot of wannabe gurus in that place who are pretending, to be enlightened and trying to create some new cults or whatever.
Following.
Yeah. So Yeshua is going to wait in that place for about a week before being able to go to the source of Ganga. And this is mostly due to the weather, and also because he's tagging along with a group of pilgrims who are doing the ascension to the sources.
Oh, okay.
So I guess he doesn't know exactly the way. And it takes about 3 days of rock climbing and difficult walking to reach the glacier. And I think, again, our audience will be able to judge that because of the picture I've been able to find.
Oh, good. I'm glad you found some.
And when he gets to the glacier, Yeshua is absolutely astonished by the beauty of the glacier and its silverish color, So for him, it's just mesmerizing.
Especially from where he was coming from.
Right, exactly.
The desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after 5 years in near the sea in Puri too, that was a big change too.
Right.
You're talking about very tall and very wild mountains. This is the beginning, the foothills of the Himalayas. Yeah.
Okay.
And so for a lot of those pilgrims, where he is, the glacier is the end of their ascension and the end of their life. They see that as a perfect
ending.
Perfect realization, yes.
Wow.
And actually, Yeshua is mentioning that during the ascension, between the little white temple, all the way to the glacier, a couple of old sadhus are dying on the way. I mean, it is so intense physically to do this ascension, and with the altitude,
right?
The lack of equipment,
yeah.
the cold, the lack of food. Yeah, so for a lot of people, seeing the glacier is absolute serenity. I mean, they have basically reached whatever they could in their lifetime. But for Yeshua, it is still not enough. He's suffering from the cold, and he's thinking seriously to go down back to the temple, because this is way higher. And again, the glacier is ice.
And he's not looking to end his life.
No.
Right? Like the rest of them.
And so, but again, his soul is screaming, what else? And after that, and after that, you didn't come all the way here just to see the glacier.
Right.
There is something else. And so the interesting part is that the group of pilgrims goes down back to the little white temple. 3 days of walking down into the valley, right? But Yeshua decides to stay by himself, all alone, in the high altitude of the mountains. Yeah. And he's near a little stupa made of, I guess our audience know what is a stupa, right? It's an assembly of rocks and stones which are pointing toward the sky. And he realized the folly of his enterprise.
You realize what?
The folly, I mean, the insanity of his enterprise.
Okay.
I mean, he's now all by himself. He has no food.
It's like, wait a minute.
He has just a wool coat, and it's probably good. The night is coming. And he realized, okay, what am I doing here by myself? This is insane. So
it's like a divine, like he's...
Well, we're going to see what happens. So he's searching for a little shelter in the rocks, and he finds a large stone and a hole beneath it. And in that little hole, there are twigs, there are dry weeds, there are feathers, and there are also hair from fur. So it is probably some kind of shelter that birds and animals are using to rest and be protected from the wind and the cold. And Yeshua goes there and he starts scratching on the ground, and he sees that there is a little cave behind it. And though he basically snaked into that cave, he enters what looks like a big room into a cave,
Oh.
And the place is completely dark. So after a while, his eyes are adjusting to the darkness. And you see around him, the whole cave is covered with crystals.
Oh my gosh.
So there is just enough light to make all the crystals, scintillates.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he starts, chanting and meditating.
See, that's divine guidance.
Yeah.
He's following that divine guidance.
Of course.
Yeah.
All his life is divine guidance. Yeah, so he's starting to meditate and to chant into this room, and suddenly he's probably, I would say, put himself into some kind of trance, and he sees 7 beings who are seated around him, and those are the 7 Rishis, which are very famous in the Hindu traditions. Okay, and they even have a name. Each one of them has a name. And they all look, like old men with white beard and white hair and everything. And so they address him. And they tell him, Sananda, there you are. And so our Yeshua, is wondering, okay, am I in Shambhala?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on? And the Rishis are responding, no, you're not in Shambhala. An aspect of yourself is anchored in Shambhala, but you are not there currently. And so all this communication, of course, is taking place through telepathy, since you can see that none of the Rishis are moving, or their lips are not moving.
Right.
And then they ask him, Brother Sananda, who are you? And Yeshua starts explaining to them what he envisions doing in the future, with his life. And so that's quite interesting for them. And then he asked them, and you, who are you? And the Rishis explain that their hearts and prayers are one with the waters of the Ganga River. And they are the one who are making the waters of the Ganga River sacred.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about those 7 Rishis in the previous episodes. And I think the other instance where I heard about that, I think it was in the autobiography of Yogi.
Okay.
Yogananda also mentioned that.
Yes.
Yes, he mentioned that, yeah. And so there will be a dialogue. I mean, we cannot retranscribe everything which is being said, but there is a dialogue between those 7 Rishis and Yeshua, and they keep discussing the role of Yeshua, and they're encouraging him to be less humble. They think that he's too humble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and they think, he needs to be more assertive, more confident about himself. And Yeshua asked them, why did you pull me here? And they respond, we want the master in you to observe what you've done to your body, to your vehicle. And Yeshua comes to the awful realization that he has been neglecting his body.
The temple.
The temple, yeah. Between the altitude, the cold, endless walks, the lack of food, it has turned him into a skeleton. I mean, he's not a young man of 22 or 23 years old. He looks like a sadhu, or And he realized at that point, that he went way too far.
Okay.
Yeah. He's putting his life at risk because he's not taking care of his vehicle.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So he's getting a little spanking in the cave.
Yes. So those 7 Rishis actually giving him a good lesson.
Right. Yeah.
And they're telling him that if you want to do something with your life and if you want to be able to teach in the future, you need to take care of your vehicle.
Right. Yeah.
Because
it's the most important.
Without
Can't do anything.
Without the vehicle, you cannot do
Yeah.
anything.
What are you going to do? All these travels will be for nothing.
Exactly. So they tell Yeshua, you have to go back to the plateau and you have to rest a lot. When you feel better, you're going to ask the directions for the road of the gods, which is to the north. And again, we will show on the maps, where, and that will be in the next episode, the route of the god, the road of the gods. Yeah. And they tell him, once you're on the route of the god or the road of the gods, you will find a little refuge and shelter, and one of your brothers is awaiting for you.
Oh, nice. That's good. You won't have to do it alone.
Yeah. So after a while, Yeshua gets out of his trance and look at his body. Again, his arms and hands are completely emaciated. His face is, it's like skin on skull, basically. And he's wondering how he has been so blind to the needs of his vehicle. Yeah. And this is a mistake that he will never do again.
Well, he had that mindset, right?
Yes.
Just I had to get somewhere.
Right. So, he's still in this little cave and he gets out of it a little bit. He has 1 or 2 dried fruits. That is the only food he has.
Gosh.
And so he eats those very
There's a lot
slowly.
of sugar. Yeah.
You know, basically turning each piece of fruit into liquid, you know, before swallowing it, like yogis do when you don't have a lot of food. That's a recipe that you do, right?
Right.
You try to use and digest as much as you can into your mouth, where actually 80% of the digestion is actually done in your mouth. And that's where you get most of the energy. And then you fall asleep. And tomorrow, he will walk down the valley again, stop by the little temple, you know, and then continue on his way to the road of the gods.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So we will talk about that in the next episode. I think we have a lot to say. I mean, the next episodes are going to be very deep, very loaded with a lot of spiritual information. And I think it's important maybe to make them relatively short.
Okay.
So that the audience can really enjoy and appreciate what we are doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.